Hey, welcome back to Fix and Repair Daily. Today we're going to be taking a look at this Nintendo Game Boy Advance SP. This is the AGS 101 model. So this is the one with the backlight instead of the front light, so it's the more desirable of the two. Got this off eBay, and all it says is no power. So the battery that was with it is like an original. It was super dead. So we've got this nice Funny Playing high capacity. Let's go ahead and put that on there and see what we get. And sure enough, we've got no power. So next thing we gotta do is break this thing open. All right, so we're gonna use the Y style screwdriver here. We got the old WOW stick out today. So it's 5 external screws here on the SP. You got one in the battery compartment, and then the rest of them are in the 4 little spots here. So you can see the WOW stick kind of struggles to undo these, and that's what I was talking about in the other video, that it does the job, but it's just not the best experience. And you know what? SP actually has 6. Got a 6th one right there I had forgotten about. Yeah. I'll pull these out. And yeah, Game Boy SPs, they've gotten pretty expensive these days, but there's some really cool mods for these. AGS 101 actually is pretty desirable unmodified. But if you wanted to mod it, you could put like an IPS screen on it and then actually sell the 101 screen, and they go for a good bit of money by themselves. All right, so this is an aftermarket shell. The previous owner clearly replaced that at some point. And you see this guy, this is the water damage sensor. I don't know if I've ever opened up an SP where that wasn't tripped. So I would say it doesn't necessarily mean that it actually has liquid damage, but I would say that this thing definitely is pretty dirty on the inside. So the first thing we want to do is find the fuse. I believe it's right here, F1. We're just going to check that fuse and see if it's good. So we'll go ahead and go into continuity mode and turn on our sound. And if this buzzes across, then it should be good. If not, it's blown. All right, so that fuse is good. So that would be the easiest solution to our problem. All right, since the fuse is good, the next thing I'm going to do is actually put some deoxit into this switch. Never know. Sometimes I'll do it, sometimes it won't. So I'm going to put that in, move it around. It definitely feels a little smoother, which is good. Whenever you're troubleshooting something, it's best to kind of go from the easiest thing you think it might be and then work your way up from there. It still feels kind of crusty. We may end up needing to take that off. But yeah, kind of work your way from the bottom up. That way you don't spend a whole lot of time doing something that's really difficult to fix. But yeah. All right, and look at there, just like that. Now we have power. So honestly, that may have been the only issue, was a dirty switch. So let's go ahead and actually open that up and make sure that we get it really clean on the inside with some IPA. Yeah, let's go ahead and set up soldering iron and get that done. Just as a quick aside, if you're enjoying this content, these old electronics being repaired, be sure to like and subscribe. Maybe leave me a comment down below and tell me what kind of electronics you want to see fixed next. Thanks. Yeah, it's pretty funny because this doesn't exactly make a great video. But man, it's nice to get a win every now and then. You know, buy a console like this that you don't know really what kind of work you're going to have to do on it. And then it ended up being something as simple as like clean a switch. Because I think I paid like 40 bucks for this thing, and these things regularly go for over $100. So just to have it like just be something simple like this is really nice. It's kind of hard to see this, but you gotta kind of work these off if you don't want to like break it. You also don't want to melt that plastic housing around it. So there's a few things you can do. You can use hot air, but I don't feel like getting it out. You could also use like Chip Quick or something like that. I'm not sure where mine is. So third option is we're going to use some flux and tweezers, try to pull it off without damaging anything. Okay, there's our flux. So I'm just going to grab the outside housing here and gently pull up. If I remember correctly, this thing's got a little bit of like a spring to it. So I may end up having to put a little bit of upward pressure on it as we go here. All right, so we did pull the whole switch off. All the pads are good. Excellent. And so now we can go ahead and lift the cover up here. Like I said, it's a little bit sprung, which is why it was hard to get off. There we go. And I want to be careful about not like mixing up the parts and how they go. That's going to go on top like that. And then the switch itself, just a little bitty slider, some little bit of contacts, and you can see the inside of that is pretty filthy. Now the best way to clean this would be with IPA and a Q-tip. I don't have any Q-tips right now, so we're going to very gently do it with IPA and a little bitty blue paper towel. The other thing I could do is run the switch through my parts cleaner, the ultrasonic, but yeah, that's a little much. So we're going to take that. I'm going to take our screwdriver and very gently, like this, and work in there just like if it was a Q-tip. We're not trying to scrape it or anything. We're just trying to get the gunk off. You can see how nasty that is and how much that came off, just like that. So yeah, that's what was causing our problem here. So we're going to give this one more clean. This time I'm actually going to spray directly onto the paper towel. And then fold it over. We'll go in here. Okay, a little bit more came off, and then finally go back again with the screwdriver. Get it all up into that corner. Just like that. Okay, so now those contacts are clean. It's only half the equation though. So we also have these little spring contacts that are dirty. So we got to be really gentle with them because we don't want to deform them, but we do want to clean them. We also don't want to break them because that would be bad. And it's hard to tell, but yeah, a little bit of dirt came off of those as well. Okay, so finally, I am just going to bend these springs up just a hair because they are, 20 years old at this point. So I'm giving it a pretty good bend. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm giving it a pretty good bend. And that's just going to make sure that these have a really good contact inside that switch moving forward, because they'll deform again over time. And the longer we can give it, the better, right? So then that switch stacks right back in there like it was before. This clamps right back over the top like before. And then we're going to put it back on the board. Now I'm going to go ahead while this is off and make sure that we clean this pad really well. These pads rather. So we don't have any problems resoldering. There we go. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and just touch these with a soldering iron to kind of retin them. And yeah, let's get a little bit solder. So if you watched the last episode, one of the other episodes, this is the last piece of the first reel of solder that I ever bought from Radio Shack. So this is the last piece. And once we get rid of that, we got this whole guy here. But yeah, Radio Shack solder, I've probably had it over a decade. This is the last piece of it. So we're just working our way through. And because that's going under a switch, we will go ahead and clean that one more time before we resolder, just to make sure that there's no flux under that button, because over time that can cause problems. And we already know that this button's a little prone to being finicky, so we'll go ahead and clean that up. So now we just gotta carefully put all this back in place to make sure everything gets soldered correctly. So I'm gonna go ahead and set that in like that. And then we'll start on one side here. And then I'm only doing one pin because I want to make sure all the other pins are lined up. They are. So now we can set another pin. And another. We get this top piece on first to hold down. Yep, perfect. And just go back and grab that other side again just for giggles. Perfect. And then we'll come and get these last 4 connections. And then if you want, you can just take a little dab of solder. Just go back one more time over the connections that go to the board. Actually, that didn't work well, so let's grab a little bit of this flux. Not enough that it'll leave really any residue. And we're just gonna put it on by hand here. Once again, this would be a great time to have a Q-tip, but I am all out. Okay, and then we'll come back one more time and hit those 4 points just to make sure that our connections to the board are going to be really good. And those all look great. So now we'll come back and just what we can clean up the flux. And there we go. Got a good connection. All right, so now that button is good and clean. So in theory, we should just be able to turn this all back on and get right back to going. This came out, which is always a fun game. Let's see. There we go. And then we will put this back in. All right, now let's hit the battery up. Great. Huh. Interestingly, this is not the AGS 101. This is the AGS 001, which is the original one. And that's not reading that game. Okay, so that's a different problem. There we go. All right, cool. But you can see how like dim that is. So this is not the AGS 101. This is AGS 001. So this is a front light. This is the original model. So seller was not quite accurate on that description. They did say it was a replacement shell, and most of the replacement shells are just printed as 101 with the label. But that is really unfortunate because I was hoping this was going to be the better model. But needless to say, this bad boy is back up and running. So we can just go ahead and pop these screws back in. And we can pop this guy on eBay and resell him. Because, I mean, the shell's in good shape. The board's working fine now. It just had that dirty power switch keeping it from running. And even the 101s, sorry, the 001s, they're desirable. They're just not as desirable. So we should be able to make some money on this, even though. Now, the other thing that we could do is we could take this board and mod it. You know, put a new IPS screen and do all that kind of stuff, which is pretty easy these days. If you're interested in seeing that, you could always leave it in the comments what you want to see, and we could see about doing something like that. Right now, I don't have any more parts to do that kind of stuff, so I'd have to order some things. The other thing I was thinking about doing is I could do like the Zypher mod. Is it Zypher? I think it's Zypher, which is the SP slab. It's like a vertical SP. You got to relocate buttons and stuff. It's pretty cool. I've been thinking about doing that one for a while, but honestly, I don't have time to play Game Boy these days, so I haven't really put in a time to make any mods like that. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, great. This nut was supposed to go on the inside there. So I gotta pull all that out. All right, so we'll go ahead and put that in, turn it on. Still running. But this is actually my original version of Sapphire. Bought this at Walmart when it came out. It's awesome. Yeah, just like that. We're up and running. And it looks like I need a new battery on my copy, but that's fine. I had lost all my save at some point anyway, so. All right, so there you go. All that's left to do, I've actually got to get a different battery for this. So I'm going to leave the battery off, the battery cover off for right now. But yeah, I got to order a new battery and then put this guy up on eBay and get him sold. And yeah, make a little money off the deal. So yeah, I'm glad you watched, and be sure to come back and see the next one. Appreciate you guys. Have a great day.